Hi, I'm Brian McDonald from O'Reilly Media. I'm here today with Brian Holt, who's a front-end developer with Reddit, and we're going to talk about the framework wars. So this is something we've been hearing a lot about lately, Angular, Backbone, Ember. Do you think the term framework war is legitimate?
Definitely. I think people are getting really passionate about all these different frameworks, about Angular, about Ember, about Backbone, every new MV star that's coming out, and I think it's a bit misguided, to be honest with you. They're different tools for different jobs. They're all very legitimate frameworks, and I feel like people are making pretty arbitrary decisions, or arbitrary criteria for deciding on which one's the best. I chose Angular just because it was the one with the greatest mind share. It kind of had the best marketing behind it.
Right.
And so I just kind of went with that. In the end, it's actually been a pretty good decision. I've really enjoyed working in Angular, but I had never worked in Ember. I'd never worked in Backbone for any extensive amount of time.
Right.
And I thought that was misguided.
So do you think it's just a matter of PR at the moment?
Definitely. I definitely think that Google's behind Angular. There's lots of people doing it, and so it's just kind of a snowball effect that more people are doing it because more people already do it.
That makes sense. So is there a differentiating factor in your mind between them, that if you have a certain type of project, you should pick this? Is there a rule of thumb?
There's some. What I typically recommend for people is just go by the code smell, right? Like, go work a little bit and see what feels good to you. Because that's really what you're going to be most productive in, is probably what you want to do it in. That's what all these, they're designed to increase developer productivity. So if one increases more productivity for you, then do that. I mean, they make more sense to different people. But I mean, there are some things, they each have different strengths, different weaknesses. Backbone's really cool for big projects. It kind of just gives you a little bit of structure and says, okay, here, now go build your app, and it just gets out of the way. Has a really great community around it. There's Marionette, there's Chaplin, lots of cool stuff that are kind of happening with Backbone. Whereas Angular and Ember, they kind of scratch the same itch. They have some different, different idiosyncrasies and ways of doing things. Ember, they're both really good for rapid prototyping. You can build something really, really fast. It's really, really cool. Angular kind of has some scaling issues that once you start getting into thousands of variables being tracked all at once, it'll start churning a bit. Okay. So you have to be careful about what you're tracking and how you're tracking, so you get to run into some interesting problems. Ember has it to a lesser extent. It's still there, but really, again, just go with what feels good to you.
So I'm seeing these described as more or less opinionated, and that sounds to me like it's a matter of your own personal style. If you want to be guided more, then you would pick Ember or not. Or have you found that to be true?
Definitely. We were just listening to Yehuda Katz, who is the creator of Ember, and they purposely made it hard to do bad design practices in Ember. They purposely made it so you were very guided to making good practices. Angular and certainly Backbone kind of get out of your way, and if you want to do bad design practices, you certainly can. It's not very difficult. So in those frameworks, it's kind of more up to the developer to decide what are my good practices.
Right.
And there's merit to both those points of view.
Yeah. Right now, we're hearing about the big three. We hear about Angular, Backbone, Ember. We hear some about Knockout. Is there something we're not looking at? Something we're going to hear about in 2 months?
I'm a big fan of Vue.js, V-U-E. Now, this is just me kind of talking because I haven't worked a lot in it, but my limited exposure to it was kind of the good parts of Backbone I like, that it's very minimal, it kind of gets out of your way, it's very small, but it still keeps things like two-way data binding, some of those really, really powerful features from Angular, from Ember. So I mean, and there's kind of a new one out every single day. So there's lots of cool thoughts that are coming out, and some of those are being actually ported into into Angular and Ember. The guys are really watching the community and pulling ideas in from the community. So, I mean, I think it's just good all the way around.
Oh, good. So how do you see this shaking out? Are we going to declare a winner in 6 months? Or?
I mean, is it going to be like another jQuery Moo Tools kind of thing?
Right.
I've thought about that a lot, and I kind of hope not. Like, I kind of like the diversity, like, just like, we talked a little bit about the browser wars, right?
Right.
It's only made browsers better, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
That all these different browsers have kind of, like, they've settled on standards kind of from different implementations. They take ideas and borrow ideas from each other, and
Right.
in the whole, it pushes the community forward. So as long as that kind of amiable rivalry, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
exists, I think it's good for the community.
So it's good until it's a shooting war.
Yeah, I mean, until you get someone on Reddit, saying, "Oh, Ember sucks, W2F," or stuff like that. Like, that's, I mean, it's not useful for anyone.
Right.
But I mean, people are passionate about what they do, so I can kind of see why it happens.
So passion is good for the community.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.